Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 5 of the Landmark Live Feature Rant. I'm your host, Legendary Neurotoxin, and here's everything. How's it going? So, normally I start with the image viewer. I'm going to start with that again today, as I usually do. So, we click on over to that. Alright. So, this is going to basically be a review of all the images from the past week since the last episode. So this is my old claim. I had some fun working on this weird looking structure, and I kind of like the stone and the copper look to it. So that's probably something that I'm going to continue with in the future. But I ended up blasting it out to make room to build some more stuff. So it's cool, but it ended up getting moved along. So another thing that happened, I went all the way under the world and started having fun throwing dynamite. This is what it looks like when you throw a bunch of dynamite under the world right now. It's kind of fun. This is when you've blasted out a whole bunch of the world and then you invert the camera all the way down and look up through it. This is what you get. Also pretty awesome. And then when you destroy rocks and stuff, that's the stuff towards the bottom that's kind of falling off the edge a little bit. It's pretty cool. This is, I don't know what the significance of that one is. So this is my new claim, or progress shot. It's really more experimentation. Um, been having some fun with it here. So here's the next one, another shot from above. And some of these kind of side hallway things that I was making. That one's a one-way. You can only go from the going up the ramp and going in. You can't actually go in from the flat side here. So I think this, I don't know if this was any more progress or just more shots of it. This is more progress. This is, I was thinking of using this area as my material tester. I eventually removed it from there and made a different space to put the material tester, which I ended up doing the material test yesterday actually at 5 p.m. just 24 hours ago. So if you want to watch that, it's up and available. It's a couple hours, and I show off all the available materials up to pretty much up to yesterday. I don't think any new materials came in today. I took a quick glance over everything, didn't see any, but that doesn't mean there might not be more to potentially collect in the world that they just didn't reveal. I think they're holding off until the new biomes come through before they actually do that, though, where they actually put in more materials. Alright. Next one. Another shot of it. Just kind of progress. It's a very unsafe structure. Like, you're going to fall through a lot of things. A lot. I actually fell like 5 or 6 times during my stream. It was kind of hilarious. So here's the new location that I had for the materials tester. And that's it covered in, I think, hammered gold. It's, got all the lights and everything around. It's kind of neat. All right, that's it for the images. I'm just going to close that. Yeah, new materials should be coming next week with the new biomes. They added some materials, like when they added the stuccoed wall, they, let me Twitch chat here. When they added the stuccoed walls, they added a few other materials as well as a lot more stone and a lot more grass, and a lot of other things that hadn't been in there before. So I just want to go through basically a mid-alpha materials test because I know they're going to keep adding more stuff. And that's something I could actually do regularly is a mid-alpha materials test every Tuesday and update the index of all the materials in the game. That could be a fun thing to do. Hi Diggs, by the way. I wonder who else is in chat. I bet everybody hopped in the game. Shadow Spawn, hey, how's it going? Yeah. Oh yeah. That not only was that a really good live stream we just had there, and I'm really excited with some of the microvoxel stuff, and that they really understand what's going on with it now, so they can actually manipulate it. But I'm also just happy about what's going in general, and continuing bug fixes, and what's coming next week is just going to be awesome. Asphyx, hello, how you doing? Actually, I have a brew. So I don't think this was an award winner. This was our double IPA, but I think we ended up submitting it as a single IPA because uh, oxidation makes fools of us all, or at least people who like hops. I don't know. These weren't really like the winningest hops either. We really need to spring for some nice ones. The one I really want to mess with is Sriracha Ace. It's I believe it's from Asia. It's very citrusy. It has like lemon flavor. Good stuff. All right. Yeah. Dragon probably is trying to eat in my brain. Whatever. The show must go on. Hi, Rathamon. All right. So, oh, that was stuff from last week and some construction details. Here's my notes. Okie dokie. So, one of the first things I want to talk about today here is voxel objects. Now, voxel objects, what I mean by that is you make something out of one type or multiple types of voxels and you save that selection. It basically becomes almost like a prop. You can do things with it and it's not going to, mess with it too much, hopefully. Obviously, if it's using a 3D texture, what the voxels do, if you rotate something that's got a horizontal material 90 degrees, then it might not necessarily look right, or a vertical material, especially things going over the top, might get rotated in a funny way, um, or not get rotated is actually the other problem. Um, So that's I'm not sure how that part would be resolved, but that's less what I'm thinking about. It's more the idea of taking the object, taking like the voxels, and actually being able to um, set them up so a group of them can be made to not blend with anything around, or um, attached to anything. It would just be, if you've got a nice decorative shield that you've made, you would make that a voxel object. And then anywhere you place that, if you place it on a wall, if you have it next to a couple of swords, I have a couple of swords kind of crossing behind it or something, the nice decorative shield isn't going to get messed up from anything being in proximity with it. So you'd be able to have it look all nice and fancy like that. Bad Viking, how you doing? So that's and also not being able to deform. So let's say you make something that if you've got pipes or something that you've made with voxels, and you want to have them all really nice, tight, intricate uh, uh, proximity to each other, but you don't want them getting so close that one pipe will just attach to another one as they go over. Instead of having to have a one voxel buffer between them, being able to define them as voxel objects would allow you to place them and have them not blend together unless there's actually a connection there between them. Even then, it would just be them overlapping there. It wouldn't actually try to bridge the parts together. Uh, so yeah, if I didn't already say it, I'd kind of like to have it like the Gary's mod of voxels, to really be able to apply mechanics and stuff and physics to voxels, being able to attach them in groups, make wheels that spin, or it could also be a series of props that you're doing this with, and voxels is just there as part of the decoration or something. But again, I'm not really sure how it's going to work if you try to move voxels because the way they're designed, the 3D texture, the makes it up. It always look the same in the same position. It'll always look different one square over unless that square is the same size as it needs to be to repeat the pattern. And if it's moving, in blocking intervals, then it's not going to be a problem. But if you've got something moving smoothly, instead of um, instead of it looking like that actual thing is moving, it's going to look like voxels are constantly being stretched into place and the previous ones are being compressed. So it's going to have this, animated kind of texture to it, which could look really cool. And I think really awesome stuff could be done with it. But it's not quite the same as building a car out of marble and then driving it around and having all the detail of the marble exactly where it's placed stay exactly where it is. I'm not sure how they could resolve that sort of thing, or if it would just be a matter of designing materials, more materials like the polished obsidian and stuff like that, which it really doesn't matter what direction it's facing, it's still going to look perfect. Yeah, Dave Georgeson was showing up. He's been so excited about stuff making that geothermal plant. I saw some of that stuff over the course of the week, and that microvoxel work is really amazing. So I'm definitely gonna have to mess with that. I might even live stream some more tonight after I'm done here to test it out a bit on my claim. And that goes to the second point that I have on my list here: a microvoxel painter and tools for just straight to microvoxel smoothing. So what I would want for a microvoxel painter is to be able to actually make pips and just paint around on a surface. Um, Another thing would be being able to define an object as doing it in pips or doing it as a level of smoothing. So if pips are say 12 levels of smoothing to get to them, you could make a sphere that's got 6 or 8 levels of smoothing. So some of the stuff is starting to kind of pull away and it's starting to get maybe a bit of that honeycomb on the inside, but it's not fully pulled apart into a lattice or into basically a field of independent pips or however small it gets. So that would be an awesome feature to be able to just place a giant block of pips and then be able to add and delete um, sections of it as needed. So if you're trying to make a fence, you would just be able to make an 8 by 8 by 1 section and just fill it with the pips, and you'd have a nice fence. Or being able to make uh, like you were saying there, Shadow Spawn, being able to do railings on stairs, you would just be able to do a section with a line tool and have it deposit pips instead of full size voxels. And in fact, I wonder if the line tool using pips instead of voxels would solve some of the problems and make it look a lot nicer, although it would have that weird kind of hollowed out look. Now that's another thing, a build tool, the opposite of a smoothing tool, something where you can build it back up and restore it back to fullness. Because right now we can only go the one direction. If we go too far, we have to delete or undo or do something else. So being able to pull it back somehow, being able to puff them up a little bit once you've got them in place, would definitely be a nice feature. Um, Now there's some other issues that I keep running into. Hi, Tilindril. Um, there's some other features that I keep running into, and I'm wondering if there's some way that they could set it up so if I do an action and some of the edges turn out a little weird or jaggedy and not quite how I want them, I don't have to try to manually smooth them out, but I can instead press a button and tell it to redo last action. And what it'll do is try to duplicate the same action, the same thing, but in a different way to try to apply everything in a more clean manner. A few people have complained recently, and I'm one of them, that pyramids, you'll get, one corner that's good, one corner that's good, one corner that's good, and one corner on the edge that's, the last one you put down on a lot of the times, that's instead really blocky and jaggedy up the side. That's a cool effect to have if you're, able to control it, but it only happens on the one side, and it usually happens when you don't want it to. So I would want to be able to place that last one and then press the redo last action button until it deposits the voxels in a more proper way. Of course, that might also just be a short-term fix I'm looking for, and once the bugs are all worked out, all these sorts of issues won't actually be issues whatsoever. So, adjust the tool edge proximity is something that I want them to do. The tool edge proximity to the edge of the claim, I mean. Right now, when I'm trying to build things and do stuff that's near the edge of the claim, it unfortunately tells me I'm all the way past, or it's giving me proximity issues. I can be, not one, not two, but a fair amount of voxels away. But if I'm using the largest sphere or the largest cube, for example, um, even if it's not actually going out or interacting with the outer world, it gives me issues. Particularly the line tool. If I've got something that's pretty close to the edge, and I'm using the line tool to try to pull it out to another point. I can't use the larger squares because, or the larger, anything because it's going to go outside of the claim area with the square width of it. Even though it's only taking the flat panel, it assesses it as the entire square for some reason. So I can't actually extrude out from it. So that's something I hope they fix at some point. L-shaped roof sections. Hmm. Yeah, freeform selection tool. I mean, that's something that I've talked about in the past, Tilindril, is being able to do like a magic wand, being able to put a selection tool over an area and just say, okay, make the selection tool the shape of just the voxel selected or the inverse of the voxel selected so that somebody can make reliefs or that sort of thing a lot easier. Um, yeah, some way to select a large area would definitely be nice, and that's something really more advanced selection tools in general would be lovely because after doing the live the material test yesterday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. I did kind of realize the selection tool right now is kind of silly and limited. You can only make the selection in one area. There's no way you can recall that selection if you accidentally clear it, so you have to reselect it every single time. So if you want to see what something looks like when you place it in an area without having the selection tool in the way, there's no way to hide it or get rid of it and pull it right back to where it was. Um, it's just really annoying. Yeah, magic wand especially something where you can select a group of materials in an area, or actually specify by type of material, like all types of stone or just stone of this type of material. That would definitely be lovely. Being able to have that fine level of detail and specificity with the selection tool. Now I don't know how it's going to work with blending because there's some areas which. I guess because I'm not sure if it's actually microvoxel related or if it's really just when two materials blend, it's just a matter of when you separate them, they'll be fine. I don't know. Blending actually probably shouldn't be a problem. You should just be able to select something, grab all of something, and pull it away clean. Because you can't have a one voxel space that's 50% one voxel and 50% another voxel. It's always going to be, one specific voxel filling that space and the other one just kind of spilling over into it. So one of the issues that was talked about, geez, I can't remember when. I think it was the last week's live landmark live. They were talking about putting zoom on the mouse wheel, or maybe it was during some Twitter conversations. Now, zoom on the mouse wheel rather than having shift mouse wheel to zoom or change your camera zoom level. Um, it wouldn't be difficult to do. The only time you need the mouse wheel to change or to do anything really, um, if you're highlighting chat to be able to scroll up and down quicker, okay, that's fine. That shift mouse wheel shouldn't interact with that anyway. Um, the mouse wheel itself, by itself in the game world, is only really used to change voxel size. So that really only matters if you're on your claim or if you're out in the world and you decide to deposit dirt for some reason, which is actually going to get cleared in 1 minute. So, it's only there for a moment. Um, so there's two ways to do it. We can either have something that while we're actually in build mode, actually using one of the construction tools, the mouse wheel only affects it actually affects the tool rather than affecting the zoom, and then you have to use shift and mouse to or shift and mouse wheel to make it zoom. I would actually personally I would just use like the bracket keys or plus and minus keys or some set of keys to increase and decrease the size of the voxels selected with the tool. I honestly don't really see why it was put on the tool, other than the fact that there's some things that it makes it a little more convenient to make things larger and smaller with the mouse wheel. Most of the time, you're not constructing things though, unless you're just a serious builder and that's all you're doing right now. But if you're not really doing heavy construction, it really doesn't matter if you're doing the shift mouse. Ultimately, it might just be solved by them putting in key bindings telling everybody, hey, figure it out for yourself. Do whatever you want. We give you all of the options. And yeah, that's exactly right, Shadow Spawn. Once they give us the mappable keyboard, it shouldn't be a problem anymore. Hopefully, they'll give us that sort of specificity, though, that we can have it, work in one way or another, depending on what we do, or we can have it always do one and always do the other. Not even have zoom on the mouse wheel. That could be on plus and minus keys. Those could be smooth intervals, or they can do them in steps. So many different ways it could be done. So many different ways it can be done. So, um, hmm, let's see. Yeah, Shadow Spawn, if you use different, probably alternating materials or a variety of materials with pips in uh, proximity of one another, unless they're pips that are unless they're materials that absolutely won't blend with each other, and I'm not sure how many of those there actually are. Chances are it will make a really nice kind of smooth pattern, a really cool kind of color blending. You know what, Shadow Spawn? I'm going to issue you a challenge. I issue you a challenge for you to make a rainbow out of gems or metal or whatever you want. But yeah, do it, Shadow Spawn. I bet you can. That's really cool, Tilindro. Yeah, I'm gonna mess around with that sort of thing a bit more. In my material tester, I do have one little kind of stick of microvoxel, so I might expand upon that and increase the material tester stuff a little bit more in that area. Huh. Oh, shadows falling. Cobalt, huh? Yeah, microvoxels. I've played around with them a little bit. They're they are pretty interesting, but right now with the current smooth tool and some of the features of it, it does sometimes have some issues. Yeah, hey Toronto, how's it going? Yeah, I'm really interested to see the new smoothing tool as well. It should be really, really effective for the specificity because the idea is that you aren't putting a shape over an area and saying smooth this, smooth this, smooth this, smooth this. That you've more got something that's going over the surface and kind of scrubbing at it. Um, I'm not 100% sure if that's actually how it works or not. I'm really excited to see what it's actually going to be. I'd really love to see something that actually has some sort of a threshold to it so you can tell it how many levels of smoothing you want it to be able to do and what the maximum level smoothing you actually want it to be able to perform is. So if I only want it to go to, 3 before pips or 2 before pips, I would be able to, set something in the menu and say only smooth down to this level. And so I can hammer away at an area and I know I'm not going to get beyond the area that I want it to smooth by. You tell other people what to do when they're programming COBOL. That's awesome, Shadow Spawn. Um, That is that's a programming language that I always hear people talk about, but I don't ever hear about people actually using. Yeah, I'm not sure about the smoothing tool being able to delete voxels. That I'm hoping is an optional version, an optional mode that you can do because it's really cool the idea that, I've got a surface and I just want to keep digging away, digging away, digging away until I've got this concave space. And that's really cool, but let's say I don't actually want a concave space and I do want pips. Um, Fortran. Yeah, I know of it. I never did anything with it. Yeah. Yeah. So, microvoxels seem to be the big hot topic right now, and that's really cool because it's a feature that allows for a high degree of detail and specificity in pretty much anything anybody makes in Landmark. But I can see that there's going to be a lot of work and a long way to go before we'll actually be able to have the level of specificity we want. Right now, all of our shape tools, you know, they don't scale down to a one by one. I actually want to be able to have default, one by one little shapes of different types that, um, instead of just being able to deposit square blocks, being able to deposit something that's got an angle to it or something that's even potentially concave and kind of looks like a human tooth of some sort, like one of the back teeth with the um, it'd be flat and then kind of um, curved down in the middle a bit, stuff like that. Being able to have all sorts of control over what the one by one voxel actually looks like. So if we're just trying to work with one by ones in space, we can do that. And that's another thing, being able to actually build things in space. Allegedly, if you hold J when you click, you can build things in space, but that seemed like it only worked with the paste tool. I I don't know. It doesn't seem to be working for me much anymore. Fortran, PLI, COBOL. Talendro, you just want your plants back. What happened to your plants? Um, yeah, Talendro. For me, the only time J was working is when I was trying to paste something. If I wanted to paste something that wasn't attached to something else, I would hold J and I could click it and it would put it there. Now, the only way you could do that, of course, is if you're using the mouse wheel and changing the X, Y, and Z axis to move something into the actual position you want. I think the other problem is even if it's in the place that you want, even if you're holding J, the mouse itself actually has to be touching the object, which creates another problem. That's one of the things that they were talking about. I think it was Jake Stones was saying in the blog post recently is the ability to, instead of having something just deposited in place where you click it, you can move something wherever you want, and it'll just that selection or that action will stay in that area. You can move around it in different areas before you confirm that action and move on with it. The let's see. They're not letting you template claim props anymore. Yeah, I actually want to get rid of the trees on mine. I can't. It's troublesome. Plant props should be craftable with dirt. That would be a good way to do it. Um, Actually, you'd probably be like some amount of dirt and some amount of plain wood because let me tell you, there's nothing plain wood is useful for. I've thrown so much of that stuff away. You can't throw it through the sifter. You can't, break it down into something useful or some sort of consumable. Um, you can't chew on it. It's it's useless. Just I end up throwing tons and tons and tons and tons of it away, or turning it into planks, I should say. No, a lot of times just throwing it away because they're not chopping burled wood, full up. Talindril, you might need to use some of these microvoxel techniques to make your garden, make some custom plants and flowers. You could make a cactus. You could actually make the first cactus in Landmark. I might beat you to it though. I've been thinking about making a cactus too. Yeah, Shadow Spawn. I don't know if I can get rid of those trees. They are all on the edge of the claim, and they're huge. They block a lot of space. It's really annoying. Yeah, Shadow Spawn. I can. I'm not going to participate. I like my claim where it is because it's available to everybody. And once I get my what's it called, the materials to make the next set of crafting stuff, I'll be able to make it once again available to everybody real easily. Um, there's still not going to be the danger factor, though, I'm sure. I wonder if they're going to call it Tier 4, if they're going to indicate that they're the extra biomes somehow, or if they actually are going to wipe all the claims. Yeah, Talindril, right now to get striped wood, you have to do this really funny sort of thing. You have to find an area where there's like lots and lots of them that can spawn, chop them all down, log out, log in on a different server, chop those ones all down, and keep rinse and repeat until you've chopped down all of the striped wood trees in that region. It's annoying as hell, but that's probably the most effective way to do it. Yeah, the little palm trees are all right, but when you do the server swap technique, you can be constantly chopping at the big trees, which give increasingly larger yields, and not only in the amount of times you can whack them, but actually how many you get per hit ends up being a lot more. And those little palm trees, they're just so annoying. No, they were saying like old growth forests, Endor or Humboldt County. Think of maybe some of that really nice foresty stuff in Lord of the Rings. Because right now, the woods we have right now, they're sparse. They're not thick and lush and like everything is all overgrown. Um, and I think I know the biome they're talking about. I think it's something we've seen in some of the previous videos. Palm tree. Yeah, Shadow Spawn. It's really weird. I don't know why the only half of the desert trees actually give the striped wood anymore. It's the large thorny trees and the large ones with the twisty things that are kind of flat on the top. Those are the only ones other than the palm trees that seem to give it anymore. There's two or three. There's a smaller type of thorny tree, I believe, and a couple other desert trees that look like they should give striped wood, but they give burled wood in a very disappointing way. Oh, Talindra, you want flat plains. You want, yeah, I know what you mean. Well, okay, Shadow Spawn, and I guess keep in mind a lot of the developers are from California, and out here it's like mountainous everywhere and rocky everywhere, and then there's the coast, and then as we get more inland, that's where it maybe starts to get slightly flatter, but it's not until we get out of California that it actually gets really flat. Um, I think that might have a little bit of influence on the developers and the rockiness they're having in the terrain. But I think the other thing is they want to have it so mountainous and hilly to maximize the amount of hilltop claims people can have because those are awesome and look cool. Yeah, Asphyx, they're not going to have the continent all tied together for a while, but I'm pretty sure they will have it at some point. I think that's the idea is that it'll be a large sprawling world, and you're teleporting between large regions, not actual islands. Yeah, Shadow Spawn, that's right. I mean, that's the other thing. We have a long way to go before they actually have things set up. The current biomes we have really aren't necessarily the flattest in nature. They could be if they wanted them to, but I think they're kind of using mountains almost as the transitional biome right now, which is kind of weird, but I guess it works. And the reason why I say that is because anything can be completely different when you go up and down a large elevation to the other side of something. I went up a foresty mountain and went down a sand dune. All right. Does anybody have any questions or comments or anything else? Updates? Because I'm actually surprisingly out of material this time, and that microvoxel stuff is just so awesome. It's gonna be really fun to mess around with. Yeah, water's gonna be interesting because yeah, the dynamic water is going to be the most interesting because they understand people can divert them in such ways that you can totally troll people. It's like, nah, bro, you don't get any of this river. I'm sending it this way. Um, Shadow Spawn. Right now, the live feature rant has kind of replaced the writing and posting papers. It's now that the alpha is out. I feel like spending the time, playing and testing it out and being able to give feedback is probably gonna do more for the project than just blasting crazy ideas out there and seeing if any of them take hold or not. Yeah, you're right, Toronto. A lot of people have been doing the microvoxel stuff. It's just, I guess, it still hadn't taken off until recently. Now that the devs have actually seen it and messed around with it, it's pretty cool. Um, just made a chest. Yeah, I was thinking of making a few of those too, Talendro. Zach and Levin, how's it going? Uh, I'd love to have claims that are 500 by 500, but I understand what that means is that the world would either have to be a lot larger or we'd have to get a lot less claims per player because we'd be taking up so much space at a time. Being able to build up to 500 by 500 would be awesome, but um, the current claim size is all right. I have no real complaints with it. Um, it's once we see what it's like when we can keep adding on, and once they start putting the upkeep stuff in, maybe I'll have a different opinion. But right now, the current claims are just fine. Toronto, how do the chests work? Is it only you can access them and your account is tied to them, or can other people store their items there and access them later? Shadow Spawn. There's plenty of places. If you post on the official forums, if you post on EQ Nexus, Reddit, um, EQ Next Fans, I believe is a Curse website, or they've got one over there somewhere. Um, See you later, Asphyx. There's a lot of places you can post your ideas, and if you want to have me proofread them or give you some suggestions or ideas with them, you can always hit me up on EQ Nexus or Twitch or Twitter or Steam or other methods to send along, and I'll check it out and give you feedback. Telendril, yes, critters would be great. Zach and Levin, once you built your claim, there's nothing to do, and I don't know what you mean with there's nothing to do in 3 months. I don't even know if people are going to have all the top tier materials they want to build all the stuff in 3 months, especially if they want to build a diamond castle. Toronto, rats in the sewers would be awesome. Oh yeah, Talindo. I mean, they said they want to be able to put things in the game so you can run your own D&D campaign or whatever out of Landmark, and I feel like that might have been some wishful thinking, but I hope it's not, and I hope that is indeed the goal for the scope and scale of what they're doing for this project. Ah, beer, beer voxels. I'll summon dwarf golems with beer voxels. Yeah, there's really not enough interaction right now to Lendril, but once they get the voice communication in, and once they get SOE mode, then there should be a lot more interaction possibilities. and actually being able to have a realistic sort of conversation with another player, which would be pretty fun. Toronto. Fog being mineable and dropped in towns. And in Terraria, you can actually mine rain clouds and drop them around places that's got a rain effect coming out. It's pretty fun. Dwarven battle bread, huh, Telendril? Dwarven battle bread. Is that a week old baguette? Yeah, Shadow Spawn. You'd have to probably make a lot of templates ahead of time and just be able to wipe them out and place a new template. And I imagine like the size of that, the templates would be giant. You've got like a 500 by 500 dungeon, and you wipe that out, and it's okay. Now here's a full populated town with 80 NPCs and stuff. Let me just clear my claim and place this here. No big deal. That's funny, Telendra. Permanent rainstorm over your claim. Yeah, Toronto. that that would well I mean once the stuff with the lava storm comes in, I'm wondering what sort of stuff we'll be able to do to put things in the environment, or if there'll be like a lava fountain prop that we'll be able to put somewhere that's just putting off ash and cinder and slag and stuff out in the air. That would be pretty awesome. Hmm. Well, that's about it. I'm got the last sip of this brew here. The magma layer or the lava layer, Toronto? Which one? You talking about the tier three, the magma all the way underground, or are you talking about the lava storm stuff up at the top? Telendro, you don't know the difference between lava and magma. Oh, yeah, that's true, Toronto. Yeah. All right. All right. All right. All right. Molten voxels. I talked about that on, I think it was last week's. Just having the molten voxel. Oh, and one other thing, actually, I did mean to discuss, and I don't think I got to here. Um, so I started a post over on EQ Nexus in the landmark community section for the things related to the community group. So definitely swing by and check that out. I've got just some provisional rules set up and stuff right now, and it's definitely something I'd love to get going once the actual the first real wipe happens and beta is upon us, closed beta. I definitely want to have the group up and running so we can just get to working and pretty much run stuff. So it should be a lot of fun. Um, yeah, Shadow Spawn. Nope, Shadow Spawn. You just all you need is iron buckets. You can collect as much of it as you want. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna take a break for probably like 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna come back on and do a little bit of building on my claim, or messing around with microvoxel stuff and some real heavy smoothing on some of the stuff that I've made. So I will. I'll be cutting the stream, and then I'll be back. So I'm gonna put the title image up, put the music on, cut the microphone, and I will see you folks later.